Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so when you think of the Eurovision Song Contest, you probably picture sequins, wild costumes, and just, well, over-the-top pop music, right? But what if I told you that beneath all that glitter is actually one of the most pristine, perfectly documented datasets in human history? Today, we're digging into a seriously fascinating study from ETH Zurich and Northwestern University. They treated this 70-year-old singing competition not as subjective entertainment, but as a rigorous computer-assisted social science case study. We are literally going to decode culture itself.
So let's dive right in. Here's our roadmap. We'll start with the data behind the glitter. Then we'll move into analyzing those 1,800 song metrics. And then look at the 3 phases of competition. From there, we're going to unpack this mind-bending concept called the Red Queen effect, see what happens when the rules themselves learn, and finally, look at how all of this applies way beyond pop culture.
Section 1. The data behind the glitter.
If you really want to understand how cultural evolution works, you need a closed system, right? A place where every single variable is meticulously tracked. And Professor Dirk Helbing and his team realized something brilliant. Eurovision isn't just a quirky TV show with singing grandmothers. It's an absolutely ideal laboratory for database social science. To put the scale into perspective, the researchers analyzed a staggering baseline of nearly 1,800 individual songs, spanning roughly 70 years. Because every song, voting result, and rule change is freely accessible, this sheer volume of data makes it the ultimate specimen for studying the hidden, mechanical laws of how culture actually evolves.
Moving to Section 2, analyzing 1,800 song metrics.
Now we have to be super clear here. This research did not rely on subjective music criticism or just what sounds catchy to the human ear. No, this was about rigorous scientific measurement. The researchers combined classic data collection with incredibly advanced computational tools. Each of those 1,800 song specimens was put under the microscope and measured against more than 35 distinct metrics. We're talking Spotify analytics, AI language models, acoustic measurements, emotionality analysis, lyrical themes, even specifically scoring them on how danceable they are. They wanted to find the exact mathematical combinations that lead to survival in this highly competitive environment.
Which brings us to Section 3, 3 phases of competition.
When you take all of this incredibly detailed song data and map it out over 7 decades, something amazing happens. 3 totally distinct eras of evolutionary behavior naturally emerge. From 1958 to 1974, you have the formation phase. It was highly diverse, and countries were singing almost exclusively in their native languages to showcase their culture. Then, from 1975 to 2003, we hit consolidation. Competitors start systematically learning from each other. These catchy pop formulas emerge, and the rules really stabilize. And finally, from 2004 to today, we hit expansion. The system actually became so predictable and homogenized that organizers had to invite new nations and totally revise the voting just to keep the organism alive.
Section 4. The Red Queen effect.
Now think about this for a second. What happens to any ecosystem when absolutely everyone figures out the optimal survival strategy? Well, the data revealed a massive dominant survival mutation taking over. Over time, the winning formula consolidated into exactly this: mainstream pop, highly danceable, and sung in English. This specific mathematical combo completely devoured the competition. It systematically pushed out all those diverse native languages, like French, German, and Italian, that used to totally dominate the early years of the contest.
The researchers call this the Red Queen effect. It's named after the character in Alice in Wonderland, who tells Alice she has to run as fast as she can just to stay in the exact same place. In an evolutionary scenario, it means that what used to be a competitive edge just becomes the standard baseline. Today, a catchy English pop beat, that isn't a special advantage anymore, it is literally a basic entry requirement. Every single actor has to constantly evolve and find a new edge just to not fall behind their competitors.
And this brilliantly illustrates a real tension in the system. On one hand, you have that data-proven winning formula: English, pop, danceable. But then you have the strategic outliers. The data shows countries like France, Italy, Portugal, and Spain explicitly rejecting this dominant trend. Instead of blending into that giant sea of homogenized English pop, they deliberately mutate away from it, leaning heavily into their unique cultural identities. When everyone else sounds exactly the same, acting completely differently becomes its own incredibly powerful strategy for standing out.
Section 5. When the rules learn.
Okay, so we've talked about the songs and the countries, but what about the environment itself?
The researchers prove that this is a true coevolutionary system. The event organizers, the actual rule makers, are learning and adapting right alongside the players. Check out this cycle. Step 1. Successful strategies get entrenched. Step 2. The organizers realize things are stagnating, so they introduce a systemic shock, like adding semifinals in 2004. Step 3. They rebalance the voting mechanisms, mixing juries with televoting to break up tactical alliances. And Step 4, because of these changes, predictability drops, the playing field is leveled, and evolution naturally continues. Even the institutions have to learn to adapt to survive.
And finally, Section 6, Beyond Pop Culture.
You might be sitting there wondering, okay, why does this matter to me? Well, let's pull the lens back from a music competition and look at the complex systems in our everyday lives. Think about businesses that get totally stuck in established ways of doing things, or academic fields that start homogenizing around a few super popular trends. Over time, systems naturally homogenize. Whether you're in corporate engineering or academic research, the Red Queen effect is happening to you right now. Just like in pop music, true problem-solving and fresh momentum usually requires someone bold enough to deliberately deviate from established best practices.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. In a world full of copied strategies and that relentless Red Queen effect, what established rules are you going to break? Take a hard look at your own industry or field of study. Are you just running as fast as you can to stay in the exact same place, or are you deliberately mutating to stand out? Think on that for a bit. Thank you so much for diving into the data with me, and I'll catch you next time.